you know, like a Steve Stout, a Lyor Cohen, a Jay-Z, all of that. You know, I just, they all seem like they be working together. Over, pause. It's like, it's been 20 years.
Jay was doing starting to get into S. Carter, and that's when I just took over Roc-A-Fella by myself.
You know.
You and Dame ever talk?
No, I've never talked to him.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen all the rants and all the criticism and all the things that he says.
Lyor Cohen is the head of music at YouTube and Google, and is widely regarded as one of the modern music business's most powerful executives. Can you guess where he's from? Yeah, you probably guessed right.
Yeah, I think in the beginning it's about you and your circle. Okay. Right? You take your circle, you got the people that grind with you every day and share your dreams and slept on the floor with you, and you know, and then you make it out. And then you look and he's like, okay, what else? Right?
Is Jay-Z really the business genius we all think he is? Or did he just outplay his own people to get to the top? Because Damon Dash and Kareem Burke just put more dirt on Hove's name. And it's got folks debating whether Jay is a calculated mastermind or just a disloyal snake. So here's the deal. We all know Dame has never been shy about calling out Jay-Z. But this time, he's pulling back the curtain on something a lot of people refuse to talk about. Jay's shady business ties with Lyor Cohen. And if you know anything about hip-hop history, you already know Lyor is one of the most infamous culture vultures to ever profit off black artists. Now let's not forget, Dame and Jay built Roc-A-Fella together from the ground up, along with Biggs. But once Jay got a taste of that industry power, he started moving really funny. And guess who was right there by his side? Lyor Cohen. The same Lyor who's been accused of breaking up Roc-A-Fella, exploiting artists for profit, and playing puppet master behind the scenes. Dame has long accused Lyor of coming in and manipulating Jay, convincing him to turn his back on his day ones in exchange for a bigger bag. Now, as for Biggs, he's never been the one to air out the dirty laundry in public. But according to some insiders like former state property member Oshino, Biggs hated Jay even more than Dame.
But at the time when I was running, I heard him say more bad stuff about Jay-Z than Dame did.
What did Biggs say about Jay-Z?
He just hated him. He just didn't like the way he was. They felt like he was moving wrong. You know what I mean? And Biggs ain't the type of person that talk a lot. You know what I mean? But like, you could tell I feel like he was like really more upset than Dame. But Dame was like really more talking. But Biggs, like, he really meant it.
So now with all these new leaks about the fall of Roc-A-Fella and Jay's close ties with Lyor Cohen, we're starting to see just how deep it really went. But here's the flip side. Some fans feel like Dame is just bitter because Jay played the game better. After all, Jay is a billionaire, while Dame has spent the last decade feuding with the industry. So the question is, did Jay-Z use Dame and Biggs to get ahead only to replace them with industry execs who don't even care about hip-hop culture? Or are Dame and Biggs just mad because Jay made better business moves? Let's break this down.
And plus, I don't trust Lyor. You know, period. Anything he doing, I don't trust. I know what he did with music.
It's opportunistic. Yeah, I got people to feed.
All right, so we all know Dame Dash has had a one-sided beef with Jay-Z for years. And while fans have accused Dame of being bitter and jealous, Dame is now saying the real reason he's so upset is because Jay betrayed the culture by cozying up to people like Lyor Cohen, a man who's been accused of profiting off black culture while exploiting black artists. But let's take it back to the beginning. Back in 1995, Jay was on the grind, selling CDs out of his trunk, trying to get a label to take him seriously. But when the industry kept closing doors in his face, he decided to bet on himself. Alongside Dame Dash and Kareem Burke, he launched Roc-A-Fella Records, making moves independently before anyone believed in them. Their hustle paid off when they locked in a distribution deal with Priority Records. And by 1996, Jay dropped Reasonable Doubt, an album that would later be considered a hip-hop classic. From there, Roc-A-Fella became a powerhouse, linking up with some of the hottest producers of the era: Swizz Beatz, Timbaland, The 45 King, Jermaine Dupri, you name it. But behind the scenes, the tension was brewing. Jay was leveling up, but at what cost? To some, it may seem like he was simply playing chess, while Dame played checkers. Others, however, are still side-eyeing Jay for selling out his day ones for industry power. So anyway, by 2000, Jay was ready to switch up his sound, bringing in a fresh lineup of producers: Kanye West, Bink, The Neptunes, and Just Blaze, who helped shape the next era of Roc-A-Fella. The label was growing, and while Jay was still the face of the rock, he and Dame were busy signing new talent, stacking the roster with names like Cameron, Freeway, and a squad of hungry Philly rappers who eventually formed State Property. For a couple of years, Roc-A-Fella was looking unstoppable, but by 2002, cracks started to show. Rumors started swirling that Jay and Dame weren't seeing eye to eye, and one of the biggest red flags was Dame allegedly trying to make Cameron vice president of Roc-A-Fella while Jay was out on vacation. That move reportedly had Hov heated, and at first, both sides denied the beef. But insiders were saying Jay was getting tired of Dame's flashy, in-your-face energy, while Dame felt like Jay was switching up and conspiring with culture vulture executives behind their backs. And if you want to know how deep the tension ran, here's how Beanie Siegel broke it down.
From conversations that me and Jay had, Dame started being famous. You know, the camera, he fell victim to the camera. You know, you liable to say anything. You could be anybody, or I think if Dame would have played the role as Kareem Burke did, Kareem, and just played the background and just handled the business correctly, maybe Roc-A-Fella still would be, you know, the force that we was. And then, but on the second hand, I think Jay was growing. And in my eyes, at a certain point in time, I just think he felt, you know, it's time for me to go ahead and do my own thing. We made enough money together.
And by early 2004, the streets were buzzing with rumors that Roc-A-Fella was falling apart. Talk of the label shutting down was everywhere, and fans were wondering if the dynasty was really crumbling. But Dame wasn't trying to hear it. He kept shutting down the speculation and even told MTV at the time, all that is paperwork. We'll never break up. It's Roc-A-Fella for life. I would never pass the torch or leave any of my artists. I look at them like my family, almost like my children. I would never leave them with anybody else. But what Dame didn't realize was that Jay had already made his move. The torch was getting passed with or without him. And then Jay dropped a bombshell on them. He was stepping up as president of Def Jam. And on top of that, Def Jam was buying out the rest of Roc-A-Fella. Now keep in mind that Jay, Dame, and Biggs had already sold half of Roc-A-Fella to Def Jam back in 1997 for just $1.5 million. But fast forward to 2004, and Def Jam came back to buy the other half for $10 million. Except this time, they were cutting Dame and Biggs out and putting Jay in charge as CEO. Basically, Jay finessed his way into controlling the empire they built together. But Jay later claimed in a XXL interview that he actually offered Dame and Biggs a deal. He said he turned down the Def Jam position and give up all the Roc-A-Fella masters, but in exchange, he wanted just one thing: the rights to his debut album, Reasonable Doubt. But clearly, that deal never went through, so the takeover was official. Jay said, so I was like, let me get Reasonable Doubt and I'll give up my masters. I'll give up Roc-A-Fella. I'll give up president and CEO of Def Jam. Everything. Just give me my baby to hold on to so 10 years down the line, I can look back and I got something. I'm not empty-handed. And I was the one being offered everything. I thought I was being more than fair. And when that was turned down, I had to make a choice. I'll leave that for the people to say what choice they would have made. That's about it. 2XL asked him about his feelings towards Dame and Biggs. Jay said, I don't really want to talk about Dame or Big. I don't have nothing negative to say about them. We all bosses, but there's only one presidential suite. If we in a hotel, somebody got to move to another hotel. But Dame and Biggs weren't feeling this whole hotel metaphor. And when 2XL approached them for comment, they said they were disappointed that Jay kept the Roc-A-Fella name. Dame and Biggs explained that Jay tried to use the name as a bargaining chip to win full ownership of the masters to Reasonable Doubt, the one album they released before partnering with Def Jam. So after Dame and Biggs sold their remaining shares in Roc-A-Fella, they didn't just sit back. They went and launched their own labels, ready to start fresh. But let's be real, the drama was far from over. Every artist on Roc-A-Fella had to choose sides, and some of them made it very clear they weren't rocking with Jay. Take Cameron, for example. Cam wasted no time lining up with Dame's new label, Dash Music Group, and he let it be known that he had a bone to pick with Hov. He claimed that Jay blocked him from becoming vice president of Roc-A-Fella, basically shutting down his rise in the industry. But that was just the beginning. In 2005, Cameron was shot during a botched carjacking, and what he said afterward sent shockwaves through hip-hop. On his track, Gotta Love It, featuring Max B, Cam claimed that right before he got shot, he saw the gunman throw up Jay-Z's signature diamond hand sign. Cam raps, first you stole Roc-A-Fella from Dame, second you stole Kanye from Dame, third you stole Roc-A-Wear from Dame, fourth I seen him throw that diamond up before them shots was fired. Meanwhile, Biggs moved on quietly and he didn't want to trash Jay in public, although according to multiple Roc-A-Fella insiders, Biggs felt the same way about Jay as Dame did. He just kept it to himself.
And you said Biggs hated Jay-Z more than Dame.
Yeah, but back.
I find that hard to believe.
I'm
I've
telling
interviewed Biggs a couple of times.
I'm telling you from my personally experienced, like, yeah.
And, you know.
But I'm saying anybody could change. You could hate somebody this year and then be cool with them. Like, I'm just saying the effects of it is that, you know, it was at one point in time that he felt the same way Dame did, or even more, or worse. I mean.
Now, as for Dame, he took Jay's shady business moves very personal. Because let's be honest, Jay used to preach that Roc-A-Fella was family and Dame actually believed him. But when it came down to it, Jay played the game for himself. But it wasn't just about business. Dame felt like Jay allowed an outsider to convince him to betray the family. See, Dame has always said that Jay teamed up with the ultimate culture vulture, Lyor Cohen, and allowed him to drive a wedge between them. According to Dame, Lyor pulled the classic divide and conquer move, playing them against each other to break up black ownership in hip-hop. Because let's be real, the last thing these execs like Lyor want is for black moguls to unite, build together, and run their own empire. Instead, they pit them against each other. And Dame believes that's exactly what happened with Roc-A-Fella.
My beef was with Lyor because I think he's a fake CEO and I think he's fronting on my culture, but he can't front on anybody else. Like, you know what I mean? It was like they have people that their job is to create beef so that they can monetize it, pause. But they don't let their culture feel it.
Dame also claimed that Lyor tried to turn him against a fellow artist, and he allegedly personally witnessed Lyor being disrespectful to black artists at Roc-A-Fella.
When I first got with Lyor, the first thing he did was try to make me have a beef with another black person on his behalf. And I was like, he's like, you with me, right? If you with me, then you gotta go to war with me. I said, bro, I got a lot of beefs on the street. You gonna go to war with me? Let's not do that. So there would be times that he would be saying things, and like I'd be with like Beanie Siegel or something, and he'd say something that was so offensive, unknowing, unconsciously, just demeaning. And Beanie would be ready to knock him out, and I'd have to be like, I'd have to bark on him so Beanie didn't do nothing to him. You understand? I'd be like, I got it, don't worry. Like, he was just an offensive person. What he couldn't understand about me is that I could have white people working for me. Because he thinks black people could only have black people working for him. So when I would walk in and have anybody white in my staff, he'd go to the side and go, are you okay? Let me know if they're treating me wrong.
Blink twice.
I swear to God he did that. The blink twice, the napkin, he used to do it to everyone.
But that's not even the worst thing Lyor has said. Back in 2018, he pulled up to the Breakfast Club, and let's just say he didn't even try to hide his culture vulturing ways. When Charlamagne pressed him about signing artists who glorify substance use, Lyor straight up admitted that he knowingly pushes that narrative, even though he knows how deadly the opioid crisis is. Charlamagne then brought up DMX, and suddenly Lyor wanted to act sympathetic, saying he was so sad about X's struggles. But in the same breath, he made it clear he's got a business to run. In other words, profit always comes first.
Real bad problem, DMX.
I'm so sad. DMX, there's two people inside of him. And the Earl is one of the nicest people. I put him up in Lake George. Earl loved being silent with a fishing pole. I do not. He just would stay on that dock hours and hours and hours and hours. Yeah, very, very sad. You know, I think the opioid problem, the syrup problem, is the biggest problem that I've ever seen and I've ever faced. And been a part of, and I can't with it. You know, the crack thing was devastating, but at least the rappers were bringing a spotlight to you becoming a fiend, okay? And I thought that spotlight, head crack, helped, even though it was harsh and really really rough, particularly on women. But I think it helped change the course of the crack epidemic. I don't know what's this opioid thing, man.
But being a crackhead wasn't cool back then. Being
What?
a crackhead wasn't cool. Now they seem like they're making it cool to be drinking lean and syrup and.
It's
to
the
be on
most
the
dangerous.
pill.
It's the most dangerous thing that's facing our society.
So why sign an artist that would promote that?
Because I already answered that question. You weren't paying attention. She asked me talent or issues? And I said talent. But I have to, I can't give up on people.
But I'm saying that's hypocritical though. You're saying
It's opportunistic.
Yeah.
I got people to feed. I got a business to run.
You're gonna make Dame Dash take this clip and call you a culture vulture.
Who's Dame Dash? You brought him up. I don't even know him. So you bring his name up. I don't even know him. So
y'all made a lot of money together.
Made a lot of money.
Come on, Lyor. Don't do that to him.
I don't know him. I really don't. So,
So when Lyor's comments went viral, Dame wasted no time clapping back, and he said that Lyor pretty much proved his entire point. Dame said, "Thanks to this Lyor Cohen for proving my point in the true culture vulture form. They make money off us and then try to erase our true history and act like the real ones never existed. He pays his bills at the expense of us." But here's where it gets even crazier. There's a wild theory floating around that Lyor Cohen might actually be an intelligence plant, using his deep industry connections to push a hidden agenda in hip-hop. Now, why do people believe this? Well, for starters, Lyor has been caught lying about his past multiple times, especially when it comes to his background and his parents. One of the biggest red flags came from an October 2023 interview with Vlad TV when Lyor was asked about his mom, and at first he claimed she was just a housewife. But later on in the interview, he slipped up and admitted that his mom actually worked for the Israeli government and even helped him land a job at the National Bank of Israel.
And my parents, incredible parents, 3 other brothers, and just a loving, happy family. My dad was the head of psychiatry for Kaiser Permanente, and my mother was just a housewife and raising children, and remarkable period of my life.
Now, I've always assumed that you were born in Israel because you have a slight accent when you speak. Have you heard this before?
Yeah, so my parents weren't immigrants because they weren't staying here.
Okay.
So my biological father was coming here just for his education. And my mother worked for the Israeli government.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I was born, I went straight back to Israel.
Oh, so you stayed there for a while.
I spent my first 3 years in Petach Tikva.
Okay, and after you graduated, you went to go work for the Bank of Leumi?
Yeah, Bank Leumi is the National Bank of Israel.
Uh-huh.
My mother got me the job, and it was just when the Shah fell in Iran, and all of the Jewish Persians came straight to Beverly Hills. So we were counting money there.
A lot of money.
And you know, I was supposed to be a financial analyst, but I ended up counting money, and I think I was making $14,000 a year. I was miserable. It was a horrible existence. But my mother got me the job. I have a college degree, and so I thought that was the responsible thing for me to do.
Now, as for Jay-Z's relationship with Lyor, they're apparently still very close, and Jay even referred to Lyor as his mentor in his autobiography, Decoded. So all these years later, after the fall of Roc-A-Fella, Dame is still talking about it, and he's not backing down. He's sticking to his story that Jay turned his back on the culture, aligning himself with culture vultures like Lyor Cohen, just to secure his own bag. According to Dame, Jay sold out his own people while still pretending to be an advocate for Black ownership and empowerment. As for Jay, he stopped addressing this situation a long time ago. And let's be real, he's got way bigger problems to deal with now, with his name getting dragged into the whole Diddy mess. But what's your take on all this? Did Jay-Z really betray Roc-A-Fella for his own come-up, or was he just making smart business moves? And what about Lyor Cohen? Do you believe the theories that he was planted in the industry to control hip-hop and keep Black moguls divided? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and let's talk about it.